Hello. This wasn't exactly how I was thinking I would be starting my YouTube channel officially. I'm a game designer who was recently laid off from his job, and this is me retelling an experience I had of getting a fake job offer roughly 2 weeks about after I was laid off. I think it's important that people looking for work hear this story and know the dangers that are out there. Unemployment is really high in the US right now, including a massive spike in California. So please at least share the information in this video to people. It's important that people understand that fake job scams are out there and that it's honestly difficult to report them and getting more difficult to spot them. Without further ado, I got a text from a San Francisco area code number about a data entry job that paid roughly what I was making before I got laid off. They claimed they got my information from Caljobs, a government run website you must register on in order to receive your unemployment benefits. The goal is to try to make it easier for employers to find people who need work and the unemployed easier to get placed in a new job. They asked for my email to send the job description. The first red flag I should have noticed was the email was sent to the spam folder. The job description looked normal and lengthy, if a few minor typos here and there. After saying I would be willing to proceed, I was sent an email with a Teams meeting screening interview in about an hour. That seemed really fast, but I figured they were seeking me out, so it didn't seem that odd. Took a while for the interview to start, and it seemed odd for a remote interview that it was just a text chat and not a webcam involved, but I figured they were probably busy. It took a lot of time between questions, which I found very annoying, but again, figured they were multitasking. When in reality, they were probably running multiples of these fake interviews at the same time. The interview questions seemed pretty normal and standard until I got to the end of the seventh question, where they asked about how I would like to receive my payments. They asked about what financial institutions I use. I state my financial institution, which is one of the largest in the United States, but apparently they didn't have that in their payroll services yet. So they asked if I had another. This seemed a bit odd and a bit premature for the seventh question into an interview. They claimed my secondary account I mentioned was perfect before we moved on to more questions. They then asked for both references in email and phone. I gave out those references, unfortunately. As far as I could tell, they did not reach out to those folks, luckily. I'm still worried they will do something with that information. But I'm extremely thankful for reaching out to the friends I did about this because it's likely the reason I made this video and I took better protective actions. We part with him saying I had a good chance of getting the position and I should keep an eye on my email. One of my friends who I used as a reference did a little more research than I did, and buried away in a Google search was this Scam Pulse page with very recent postings indicating this scam started to happen very close to when I was laid off. I had plenty of reason now to be on edge, and I immediately rethought every question. I made sure to preserve all evidence I had, which was the origin of this video. The morning the day after the interview, I received this hired application. Now, I'll get to this application later, but first, let's do a deep dive into the website and this quote unquote company, Architecture Engineering Exchange LLC. My first impression of the site, when I first got the text and searched it on Google, was that it was a new company that was possibly run by some technically illiterate or challenged individuals, possibly older, that were just getting off the ground and were looking to quickly hire technically minded people. But when you start looking at it more critically, things become a lot clearer. The first major red flag was in the person meets precision section at the bottom of the website. There are four little windows, all the same generic paragraph. The Our Services page provides a little more effort, with each paragraph at least being something unique, if a bit bland corporate speak. Each button under the paragraphs either says Get Started or Read More. The Read More buttons do not function and lead nowhere, while the Get Started button leads to the Contact Us page form. The contact form is super minimal, with just a name, email address, and message, standard for most websites working from a template. However, something very interesting on the right side, a map of their office in Daly City, California. We'll swing back to that after checking out the About Us page. The About Us page is 2 paragraphs of flowery language about how good their services are without any actual history of the company or any clients which they have worked with or may work with. Let's head back to that map on the contact page and take a look at the listed address. To quote my friend who lives in the San Francisco area, Daly City is mostly a suburb, no large businesses, no downtown area, a bit rough around the edges. It's not a desirable place to live because it's usually covered in fog, even on days when San Francisco isn't. It's a weird choice indeed. Definitely not the typical place to set up a respected remote work architecture firm seeking people with strong technical backgrounds. And here's the address: a blurred out building in what appears to be a row of suburban style homes. Not exactly the type of location you would want to advertise as your place of business and wanting to attract project clients. Let's use a site called URL Void to check the details of the website. If you are familiar with sites like Whois that tell you detailed information on a website, URL Void includes Whois information alongside some other details. And what do we have here? The domain was registered at the beginning of August, which is about a month before I got my job offer. And the server location is the Netherlands. Now, if I'm interacting with a Dutch person, I would prefer it to be eating chocolates with the lovely Ella Freya than being someone pretending to be an architecture company manager in California for some reason. I also have a family member who works with an architecture company, and they told me to check for their contractor's license through california.gov. And yep, no company holding that name has a license. Then checked both the Better Business Bureau and Trustpilot to see if they were registered or had listings there. Nothing. At this point, it was clear. I had to contact Caljobs and report this phishing attempt claimed through their name. I contacted the help desk and began relaying my story to the nice lady. It was evident as I went on she was horrified by my story and didn't have any idea what to do, so she got her manager. I didn't speak to the manager myself, but the terrified Caljobs employee told me to report this fraud in 2 different places. Going back to the Caljobs site, I went to the bottom of the page, clicked on the Protect Yourself under Resources, scroll down to the bottom of the page again, and click on the Internet Fraud Complaint Center. This will take you to the IC3 website. You can click on File a Complaint and proceed to fill out a form that is pretty disappointing with limited methods to provide evidence. The IC3 is run by the FBI and hopefully would start an FBI investigation. I was also requested to report it to the California EDD website. This is not an easy task. It's quite buried, and there isn't exactly a clean way to report this specific type of fraud. You go to the bottom of the page, click Help Fight Fraud, navigate down to Report Fraud Now. At this time, I used the Report General Fraud button and proceeded to fill out what I could. The most disappointing part of both of these reporting methods is that there is no way to send them the evidence of a scam other than website URLs and names. So this video stands as a more detailed report of the scam because I could not submit any evidence. No images, videos, screenshots, anything else. So I was texted about answering the hiring packet email. It was evident that my new manager was putting pressure on me to provide more personal information.
Taking a look at this application, it appears similar to the type of thing you would get if you walked into a place and asked for a physical job application, which is becoming a rarity these days. To help me provide enhanced information to fill out this form, I used Fake XY, a powerful site when you need to give yourself an alternate identity, or multiple. The application wanted a lot of information, including things directly from the job description. Why wouldn't these things be filled in for me already? I filled in my education, references, and work history, all using creative liberties with the truth, along with a doctor's signature for my name, so it can hardly be understood. I didn't show it, but I actually spelled my name wrong on purpose on the application to see if they would notice. Also, props to you if you get my cute little references I made in my previous jobs section. It was honestly the most fun part of this whole train wreck. I took a while to finish this application, but they set up a company profile for me and said they would contact me later about proper documentation, including the offer letter. Then, one whole minute later, they sent an email regarding their training program, which would be another Microsoft Teams chat set in specific hours, that they were actually super flexible. They also informed me of the same things in our team chat. I was sent this employment paperwork, which is by far the scariest thing I've received as part of this whole process. And this seems to be their primary goal. The first is just a fake offer letter with some really strange formatting, but this doesn't really give a lot of information other than possibly trying to get a signature. The direct deposit form is the most frightening form and likely them trying to get my payment information. The last is a standard W-4 withholding form that I think is here primarily to get a social security number. I showed up 15 minutes late to my fake job training, but luckily, they didn't mind. The data entry training task they asked me to do was to go onto Yahoo Finance and basically make a detailed report on Seagate technology and put it in a Word or PDF document. So I go onto Yahoo Finance and I immediately hit with a huge level of sad irony, with 3 articles related to massive spikes in unemployment. Wow, sometimes reality comes at you fast. To complete the task, I basically just copied and pasted what was on Yahoo Finance and made a small table for the cash flow requests. After I finished the task, I received this bizarre message about my task completion that I still have no idea what he was exactly trying to say. Maybe I was supposed to give definitions for what cash flow is, but I also think I outdid his expectations. The next morning, they started to get pushy about me not filling out this employment paperwork yet. I was avoiding it for good reason, and I was interested to see what the second day of training would involve. He also pushed in the Teams chat for me to get my information done before giving me the next training assignment. They wanted me to go to Fortune.com and list the top 3 companies in the Fortune 500, then copy their information from Yahoo Finance. This time, I'll be honest, I was feeling lazy and wanted the fastest and easiest way to handle this one. So I took the exact instructions given to me and fed it into Grok AI to handle the assignment for me. Then simply copied and pasted everything Grok said into an organized Word document and sent it off to them. And after I finished, he reviewed it, and apparently I did really good in my today. What happened next was the true mask off moment for this scam operation, and I made one last bold attempt at finding out the truth and how far they were willing to go with this whole thing. I wrote an email saying that I would like to come up to the office to sign my paperwork and that I would be in town anyway, so it wouldn't be any inconvenience. And in very poor grammar, he demanded I send it all to him here and that he's my supervisor and it is a rule of the company. And here's where I figured I should come to a conclusion. So, what did I think all this was about? I have a few theories. First theory is that they're trying to make employee profiles of remote workers. You know, get someone's ID, then use those ID and credentials to imitate somebody working and living in California. This would make the most sense for an elaborate as scheme as this is. I went through an entire employment process and fake training process. This was more than just trying to get one or two pieces of information for a simple phishing scheme. This was trying to get an entire profile on someone looking for work. The other could just be a more simple, hey, they want payment information and they went to insane lengths to get that. That was always one of the biggest questions I had when I was talking to others about this whole situation is, but why? Why would they go through so much effort? And I thought the same thing the whole time. There's so much effort here, and for what? A pittance of information? It's so strange. Another aspect of this whole thing that frustrates me is how poor the reporting tools for all of this are. I was able to report to the FBI and the EDD, but government employees that I talked to didn't even think a scam like this was being worked on. And when I did finally have someone who knew about something like this, they had me report to a reporting mechanism that doesn't allow the submission of hard evidence. And then finally, the reporting systems don't even have anything for something like this, where someone's able to infiltrate the Caljobs system and imitate an employer, and then no way to report that this is happening. It's incredibly frustrating. So, everyone, please stay safe and use your head. This wasn't easy to report on, and it took a lot of my time that I would have rather spent working on video game, making other videos, making things about a lighter, more fun subject. But I really think it was important that no matter how many people see this, that the information gets out there and people know about it. And I did find the whole thing fascinating in a lot of ways. Anyway, I'm going to continue to use this channel as a source of creativity and working on games and other fun things. Talking about video games, talking about life, talking about art, talking about what I want. And it's my channel. So if you're willing to stick around, I would really appreciate it. But if you're just here to learn about this, I'm glad you stuck around and listened to me talk and share what happened. Thank you.